Every single day we're making choices. Little ones, big ones, they all stack up to build the life we live. But what if the biggest threats to our future aren't some huge, dramatic disasters? What if they're the small, unthinking decisions we make, day in and day out? This is a story about one of those choices.
I never saw it coming. That's what a young guy named Jake told me when he was looking back on a single decision that just about wrecked his life. It's a phrase you hear a lot when people talk about regret, isn't it? It's like a warning sign for a trap we're about to explore.
See, for Jake, it all started with what seemed like a simple favor, a harmless act of friendship. He just signed a piece of paper. But that one signature, made without asking a single tough question, spiraled into a total financial nightmare. The thing is, Jake didn't make a bad choice because he was dumb. He made it because he just didn't think. And that is exactly what we're digging into today. Not evil, not stupidity, but something the ancient Greeks had a great word for: folly. It's a danger that doesn't kick down your door. Nah, it's quieter. It just whispers in your ear. And here's the crucial thing to get. Folly isn't about being a bad person. It's a failure in your process. It's that agree to terms and conditions button you click without reading a single word. It's the yes you give to a project without even looking at your calendar. In a world that's built for speed, this simple failure to just pause is probably the single greatest enemy to living a good life.
But here's the good news. We are not helpless against this. There is a powerful defense, a kind of mental martial art that was developed thousands of years ago. It's the simple but profound practice of asking thoughtful questions before you act. Honestly, in a world that profits from our impulsive reactions, learning to deliberately question is probably the most essential survival skill we have.
So where does folly usually show up first? Well, a lot of the time, it's in our words, the casual promises we make that can quietly twist themselves into chains. Take Sarah. She just wanted to be helpful. She probably thought, hey, what's the harm? But when she vouched for someone she barely knew, she wasn't just giving a reference, she was literally lending them her reputation. And she gave it away without a second thought, which led to a whole mess of legal and professional problems she never, ever saw coming.
Sarah's story is, well, it's a pretty stark reminder of just how heavy our words can be. So how do we protect ourselves? How do we make sure our commitments are actually building us up instead of trapping us? You have to look past the surface level request. Like with Jake's loan, when you co-sign, you're not just helping a friend out. You are making a legally binding promise to the bank that you will pay the entire loan if your friend doesn't. This one question forces you to look at the cold, hard reality of what you're actually signing up for. And this next one requires some brutal honesty with yourself. Look, wanting to help is not the same thing as being able to help. Hope is not a strategy here. Do you really have the time, the money, the energy, the resources to see this promise all the way through, especially if things go south? Okay, this is the moment. This is where folly tries to rush you. You'll hear the voice of pressure. It'll say things like, I need an answer right now, or don't you trust me? It's all designed to make you act without thinking. But look at how a calm Socratic question completely changes the game. It's not about saying no, it's about seeking to understand. That simple little shift is how you take back control of the situation.
All right, next up is a different kind of folly. This one's quieter, way more seductive, but believe me, it's just as destructive. It's the choice to put short-term comfort ahead of long-term growth. It's the whisper of laziness. Think about Tom. He was always the guy who was naturally smart, naturally talented. He always believed that was enough. But he missed a fundamental truth. Consistency compounds. While he was relying on these sporadic bursts of brilliance, his peers were just putting in the work, day after day. By the time he hit his mid-30s, they hadn't just caught up to him, they had completely blown past him.
So, how do we fight this tendency in ourselves? We use questions to take apart our own excuses. Instead of just accepting I'm too tired as a fact, you flip it. You ask, okay, but what's really draining me? Instead of the classic I don't have time, you ask, what am I choosing to make time for instead of this? See that? This simple shift turns a dead-end excuse into a productive investigation. And sometimes a single question can change a person's entire life. There's a story about this brilliant but lazy medical student who was just coasting. Then one day, her mentor asked her this question: What happens when you're holding someone's life in your hands and your natural ability isn't enough? For her, that question made the consequences terrifyingly real. She suddenly realized that her future patients' lives depended on the discipline she was building, or not building, right now, and it changed everything for her.
And that brings us to our final arena of folly, the incredibly powerful lure of temptation. Temptation is a master salesman. It always promises immediate pleasure while doing a fantastic job of hiding that long-term price tag.
Kevin told himself it was just a friendship. He told himself it was harmless, that it wasn't really cheating. But temptation is an expert in disguise. He was so focused on that immediate gratification, the attention, the connection, that he completely refused to see where that path was actually leading.
This is the question that just cuts right through all the self-deception. It forces you to actually calculate the full cost, not just in money, but in trust, in self-respect, in your relationships. You have to remember, every yes to a temptation is a no to something far more valuable. For Kevin, the true cost was years of pain and a shattered sense of security for his entire family. And then you follow up with this one. It's a simple cost-benefit analysis, right? A few moments of pleasure versus a potential lifetime of regret, a quick thrill versus permanent damage to your reputation or your family. When you frame it like that, suddenly temptation's power starts to look a lot smaller. So as we pull this all together, the pattern becomes crystal clear. Whether it's careless promises, laziness, or temptation, all these forms of folly thrive in one environment, the absence of thought. Your ultimate defense, your shield, is the simple discipline of questioning. So think of this as your practical take-home toolkit. These 5 questions are your shield. They are so simple, but when you use them consistently, they can protect you from financial ruin, from career stagnation, and from personal heartbreak. This is your defense against folly. And if there's one core idea I want to leave you with, it's this. Smart people make foolish choices every single day. True wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the discipline to ask the right questions. These questions, they create that critical, life-saving space between feeling an impulse and acting on it. An invitation to folly is right around the corner for you. It's coming. It might be in a text message, an email, some harmless opportunity. And the choice you make in that moment, that's going to shape your tomorrow. So the only real question left is, will you be ready to pause? Will you react or will you question?